Yo guys, what's going on? It's Ryuga here with another video. This time it's going to be a discussion video about Chaos Shuffle. Before I get into it, I know there's going to be a lot of people popping in wondering where I went, how things are going, all of that stuff, if I'm going to continue making videos after this one. Just to put it short and blunt, basically I got a job. I decided that I wanted to focus on life, clearing out my debts, stuff like that, things outside of video games, and just shift my focus towards that. To summarize it, everything is very well in my life. I've, cleared out most of my debt. I'm on a very, very great track in life right now. I'm very happy. Now what I want to do in my free time is, I figured, hey, maybe I can step back in, make some videos, dip my toes in the water, just see how things are going and, how things might be faring in Dead by Daylight. And, if I find myself enjoying these conversations, enjoying these videos, then start making videos again for you guys because I enjoy the interaction and, I still do have a deep passion for this game, regardless of taking a break or anything like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the main topic of the video. All right, so like I said in the beginning, the topic of the video is Chaos Shuffle, and why I think that this has actually been one of the more healthy things to happen to Dead by Daylight, and probably the healthiest thing to happen in a very, very long time. We're going to try to talk about both sides. We're going to, talk about the pros, cons, things that I think can improve or things that, aren't going so well, all that kind of stuff. So the main reason that I think that Chaos Shuffle is so healthy for the game is that you have these metas that have formed around both sides, Survivor and Killer. The Killer meta being, of course, stacking a lot of slowdown perks, whether it's slowing generators down, whether it's Pentimento build, anything to slow what the Survivor's main objectives are and stacking those as much as possible. Now, I know everybody who plays Survivor, we load into a match, whether it's with friends or we just want to chill. And it's very difficult playing against these builds that a lot of the time shape the match and don't require a lot of input from the Killer. They just hook people, gens blow up for fucking 25%, then they kick them again for 20%, and then they surge them, jolt them, block them, whatever. Very annoying to go against. Now, on the Survivor side, there are things like exhaustion, things like using offensive uses of anti-tunnel perks. And what I mean by that is there's things like Decisive Strike, Unbreakable, or Off the Record. You basically get unhooked and can flaunt this in the Killer's face, knowing they probably don't have a solution to this because they either eat your Decisive Strike or they slug you and then you Unbreakable and get up. Just wastes a lot of the Killer's time the same way that running slowdown wastes, the Survivor's time. You can also stack perks to increase generator speed, far faster than most people can handle if they're not prepared for it. These things on both sides are just very, very obnoxious to play against. Now, I understand why they're there. Not everybody is as good as the next guy or as good as, a player like me who has like 7,000 hours. So it's I'd say very wrong to compare what I do in your average game versus to what the average player does in their average game. However, going into Chaos Shuffle, it is very evident at how different the game is without the Killers and Survivors being able to pick their perks. You have, perks with, or Killers with no slowdown, Survivor without any gen perks, and perks they probably don't use a lot. And they really have to just adapt to the perks that they're given. And you can tell that there's a huge disparity in skill based off of who is able to play well with what perks and who is actually good at these specific Killers to create pressure throughout the match versus who knows how long you should spend on gens, when should you go for the save, when's a good time, knowing how to read the HUD, all of those things instead of relying on a lot of these perks to help shift it and require less skill from both sides. And ultimately, I know that Chaos Shuffle is, not really a perfect game mode. I'm not making it out to be a perfect game mode. It just is a lot more fun for both sides because you don't know what to expect and the games aren't miserably slow either. Now, obviously, Killers can still get lucky with their random, slowdowns stacking up, or Survivors can get something really stupid like No Mither plus Overcome, right? Or No Mither and Self-Care. Can't use those perks together, and perks that just don't synergize well. And that's perfectly fine. Sometimes that happens. That's kind of the point of Chaos Shuffle. Sometimes you get dealt a bad hand, and that's okay. Those are some of the things that aren't really perfect about it. The same as, Survivors and Killers can still use add-ons, map offerings, items, things like that. And these can severely tilt the game. There are some very strong iridescent add-ons. strong items, med kits for Survivor. If everybody equips a med kit, it's almost a completely different game. So I think something to improve solo shuffle would be to disable the ability to use offerings, add-ons, things of that sort. I think they just unnecessarily tilt the game in a different favor, especially considering how overpowered some of these things are. And it just takes Chaos Shuffle for what it is. And maybe even instead of removing them, make the add-ons and the offerings, make them completely random. Make it pick something completely random from your inventory. Put on a random map offering. Things that the devs could ultimately consider doing could improve the game mode for everybody. I just think that being able to pick your add-ons kind of defeats the purpose of Chaos Shuffle, because I could be running no perks, but if I'm running Tombstone Myers or an Iridescent Hatchet or really strong green add-ons for specific killers, like Wraith has some really good Uncloak add-ons or purples, stuff like that, or running an insta-heal, that almost just defeats the purpose entirely. Some of these equate to 2 or 3 perks combined. That's how good some of these things are. Now, ultimately, the thing that I love the most about this game mode, and the reason I think it's so healthy, is skill expression. Survivor and killers have the ability, or are given the chance, to be able to adapt to the builds that they're given. Whether they can use these in creative ways, or find specific ways to get benefits from these perks that they don't normally use, instead of relying on a lot of these staples that were given. For example, a lot of people rely on Survivor's side to get pallets or flash, let's say, as a background player, or killers rely on stacking all of their slowdown, whatever it is. And I'm not picking fun at either side. I'm just saying these are things commonly complained about on both sides. A lot of the time, people become very reliant on this. And as somebody who has frequently played the game with maybe one slowdown and for years, not saying I never stack slowdown as killer, but I try to play without slowdown as much as I can. And you can tell the difference. I'm not trying to put anybody down, but the difference in gameplay between people who stack a lot of slowdown versus those who don't stack a lot of slowdown. You can tell the way they operate, the way they think about the game, the way they go about applying pressure. You can notice that if you watch the gameplay. And I feel like a lot of people lack this because the meta has become so solidified, or whether it's for regression or speeding up gens on Survivor or streetwise toolboxes, whatever it is. It is blatantly obvious that skill expression from Dead by Daylight, aside from, the just inherent being good at looping or being good at a specific killer power, it's just not there anymore. Being able to adapt instead of relying on these things pushes you just to become a better player. I will always be far more impressed by somebody who kills me with no perks or kills me with the randomest things I've ever seen than somebody who holds W and isn't really that good, but ends up beating my solo queue team, or maybe I'm just duo queuing because they have Pop Goes the Weasel, Pain Resonance, Grim Embrace, blocking the gens, Surge, whatever it is, basically carrying them throughout the match. I know Dead by Daylight's not perfect, and sometimes it is very difficult to apply pressure, and sometimes MMR is unfair. You go against people who are better than you, or you probably shouldn't be going against them. However, these things on both sides can be very frustrating, and that's why I think Chaos Shuffle, just eliminating the meta, giving you something completely random, has been the best spot for Dead by Daylight, that's been there in a very, very long time. Now, in Chaos Shuffle, the game does become harder. I'm not going to, push that to the side. Killers are incentivized to tunnel a lot more due to the perks being randomized. So they are like, okay, well, they're not going to have Decisive Strike. They're not going to have Off the Record. So fuck it. I'm just going to tunnel everybody in Chaos Shuffle because I can. Or, survivors are able to do gens a lot quicker because there's no more slowdown. So if they bring toolboxes and stuff, it can be really miserable as killer because you're just not able to apply the pressure. So all of these things combined, I think, make Chaos Shuffle one of the best game modes that Dead by Daylight has ever introduced. The variety, not feeling so sluggish, the matches not really being that miserable, most of them, is something I hope to see them improve on. I really don't want it to go away. I want players to continue playing this. I want them to experiment. And I hope that people, when they play these game modes, they say, oh, I've never used this perk before. And then they get use of it and they're like, this is kind of fun. Why don't I use this perk in regular Dead by Daylight? I'll show an example that I used to do. When I played Survivor, I started using, Scene Partner and Troubleshooter. And I started being like, wow, this is really fun. I love these perks. And I never would have done that if I didn't watch a specific person or see specific people using these perks. I equip them and I'm like, wow, I almost feel like I can't take these perks off now because I got so used to them and I love them and they're so niche, but they provide a very good aura reading effect. Same thing as Killer, people become attached to certain perks, but if they branched out, they'd be like, you know what? These perks are really cool and they have very niche use. Maybe I'll try to use them instead of stacking slowdown. And, overall, you can just become a lot better at the game if you do this. And I really hope to see people doing this more with this game mode. And I know it's not for everybody. Some people really like their builds of whether it's flashbang, background player, whether they want to go for a theme in their builds, I get it. Whether they want to do jump scare builds on indoor maps or, skill check doctor, whatever it is they want to do, I get it. There are themes you want to go for. But ultimately, I think that usually those are only fun for one side or usually at the expense of the other side. I just hope that people, look at these game modes, see what drastic benefits, have been introduced in the gameplay, and it's kind of shifted around how games feel when you're playing this Chaos Shuffle. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what your thoughts are on Chaos Shuffle, what your experience has been, because I know everybody doesn't have the same experience. Not everybody has as many hours as I do, so maybe they go into these and they get stomped and they don't have a good time. I don't know because I don't talk to a lot of people that are like this. So feel free to share your experience. Let me know how your games went. And other than that, if you've been watching this long, I appreciate you taking the time to, click on the video. I know I haven't put videos out in a long time. I'm going to test the waters. If I like it, I'll put more videos out. We'll just have to see what happens. If you have something you really want to see or you think would be a good video idea, feel free to leave it in the comments. As well as, like I said, comment about your Chaos Shuffle experience and just let me know how everything is going. Other than that, though, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for tuning into this discussion video. I don't know what the next video is going to be. I'm trying to brainstorm some ideas, but I am going to try to do a few videos before I make a decision on whether I want to keep going or what the deal is. Content creation isn't straightforward, but I want to try to get back into it, and interacting with the community, is something I love. So other than that, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys, to the next video. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, night, day, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you guys are, whenever you're watching this video. Feel free to join the Discord. I still do stream every now and then. I stream Dead by Daylight, so if you want to come by and hang out, feel free. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.